We've always believed that home is the safest place. But what happens when strange noises echo from the very room you're sleeping in? When the one watching you turns out to be a seemingly harmless family member? And when the shadow behind the trees starts knocking on your window? Would you still dare to spend another night there? Tonight, I'll tell you 3 true stories that happened inside the homes of ordinary people. Places where fear was never supposed to exist. These stories will make you look over your shoulder, double-check your locks, and wonder if you're being watched right now. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and make sure you're alone. This is 3 scary stories that happened at home. Chilling, suspenseful, and the kind that sticks with you long after midnight. Story 1. Beneath the bed, where no one looks. When I was 22, I started renting out the basement in my parents' house, trying to save money and have a bit of privacy. They were usually out on weekends, and the basement with its own entrance bedroom, bathroom, and kitchenette became my personal hideaway. That weekend, they were away on vacation. I invited 2 close friends, Anthony and Jay, over to watch hockey, drink a few beers, and blast music without anyone scolding us. After the game, since we were all buzzed, they decided to crash at my place. The big sofa in the basement could fit all 3 of us if needed. I wasn't drunk, just relaxed. After cleaning up, I went into my room, locked the door like I always do, and quickly fell asleep. Somewhere in the night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps coming from upstairs. Probably one of the guys grabbing a drink or some water. I didn't think much of it until I heard the doorknob to my bedroom gently rattle like someone was trying to open it. It was locked. I sat up, holding my breath. No voice, no call, just silence, and the faint sound of metal on metal. I waited a few minutes. Nothing else happened. Eventually, I fell back asleep. The next morning, Anthony was gone. Jay was still half asleep on the couch. I asked if he'd gone upstairs or tried to enter my room. He looked confused and said he didn't remember anything like that. I didn't ask Anthony. I still thought maybe it was just my imagination. That night, I came back home after a day out. I wasn't drunk, just tired. I ate, showered, then laid in bed watching TV until I dozed off. The moment I turned the TV off, the noise returned clearer this time. Footsteps. Upstairs. I sat up, heart pounding. Then the doorknob rattled again, and this time, there was also a faint knock. I didn't dare speak. Didn't ask. "Who's there?" I just grabbed my phone, messaged my parents, Jay and Anthony. No one replied. I crouched behind a corner cabinet, gripping a heavy wooden bat, bracing myself for the worst. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. I whispered a 911 call, begging them to knock on my window instead of the main door. When I saw the flashlights and heard tapping on the glass, I finally exhaled and let them in. The basement looked fine. But when they checked the upper floor, which had been locked ever since my parents left, I heard a shout. One of the officers yelled, "Don't move! Get out from there!" I froze at the foot of the stairs, heart in my throat. The man they pulled out, tall, filthy, wearing a tattered hoodie, had been hiding under my parents' bed. They cuffed him and asked if I knew him. I shook my head. He stared at me, blank yet full of contempt, like I had somehow disappointed him. He hadn't stolen anything, hadn't broken any doors or windows. No one knew how he got in. Maybe when we opened the door for our friends, played music loud, he snuck in. Or worse, maybe he was already there before we even arrived. Story 2. The figure outside the window. I never thought I was easily scared. I live alone in a wooden cabin in upstate New York, out in the woods, where the only regular visitors are deer and the occasional squirrel. Most nights I'd sit on my porch with a beer in hand, listening to the wind through the trees. I loved the quiet. But a few weeks ago, something changed. It was around 10 p.m. I was sitting on my wooden porch chair when I heard a crack like a branch being stepped on somewhere out in the dark. I figured it was wildlife, no big deal. But the next night, the noise came again. This time, it was scratching. Light, slow, intentional. It came from the left side of the house, right by the window of the spare bedroom I never used. I stood up uneasy, but told myself it was probably a raccoon. I checked around the house. Nothing. The next night, it wasn't scratching anymore. It was knocking. 3 knocks. Gentle. Even. Like someone tapping with fingernails on glass. I grabbed the flashlight hand trembling and drew back the curtain. Nothing, just shadows and moonlight. But the feeling, the presence, that someone or something was watching me, it lingered. I couldn't sleep. Night after night, the noises came back. Sometimes by the window, sometimes from the roof. Once I even thought I heard whispering like the wind squeezing through the cracks, but with rhythm, with words. One night, I decided to confront it. I took the biggest flashlight I had, gripping a steel rod in my other hand. I entered the spare bedroom, the one with the most activity. The air smelled wrong. Not woodsy, but damp heavy, like the room had been used without me knowing. I scanned the room. Nothing. But as I turned to leave, the flashlight caught the closet door. It was ajar. I took a deep breath, hand shaking, and yanked it open. Empty. Except for one thing, a small piece of black cloth stuck between the hinges. Whose was it? I had no idea. I slammed the door shut and locked it. But I knew then this wasn't an animal. It wasn't the wind. The next night I heard knocking again. But this time, I saw it. A figure. Standing still just outside. Motionless, silent. Staring through the glass. Its eyes caught the light glowing like those of a predator. I stepped back, dialed 911. When the cops arrived, I'd hidden behind my cabin. They searched the property. No one. No tracks. But the piece of cloth from the closet was gone. I left the next morning. But to this day, whenever the wind howls, I still remember those 3 knocks. Story 3. The knock from the basement. I was 15 in 2008. My parents were out for the night at a casino, leaving me alone at home with our dog Abby, a sweet black lab. I was texting a friend when Abby suddenly started barking like crazy. She ran to the living room window facing the driveway. I looked nothing. My parents weren't back yet. I returned to the computer, but something felt off. I started hearing clinking sounds like metal scraping against metal coming from the basement. I froze. The basement door was in the back on the ground level. Hard to find unless you knew the house. How could someone know it was there? Unless they had watched us before Abby barked again, more vicious this time. She ran downstairs growling like she sensed someone. I rushed over, slammed the basement door shut, and sprinted to my parents' closet where they kept a hunting rifle. I clutched it, breathless, just about to dial 911. Then I heard the front door open. Abby bolted toward it, and I heard my parents' voices. They were back. But that was only the start of the nightmare. The next day, Uncle Pete, a family relative no one liked, dropped by holding a small envelope. Inside was a thank you card for helping his daughter practice softball. He said I stopped by last night to give this in person, but I guess nobody was home. My mom went pale. My dad slammed the door shut, eyes burning. We all understood in that moment the man in the basement, the one trying to open the door, was Uncle Pete. I'll never forget the feeling of being stalked in my own home. Since that night, Abby slept right next to my bed, and I've never forgotten if my parents hadn't come home when they did. this story could have ended very differently. Thank you for staying with us till the end of the video. If you've ever experienced something strange, terrifying, or unexplainable, share it in the comments. Who knows? Maybe your story will be the next one featured here. Don't forget to like if you felt the chills, subscribe to catch more scary stories every week, and share this video with someone who might need a reason to check their window tonight. And remember, this is where the unthinkable happens, more often than you'd believe. See you in the next nightmare.